Okay, now I'm going to make the windows. Chances are you will not have to probably ever detail traditional style windows, but there are opportunities where you might want to just make the existing windows that are there and represent what's accurate. It's also kind of helpful to know how to make them just in case, because I think that the cheapest looking thing in a SketchUp model, especially if you're doing a rendering eventually, are the windows where you basically just cut out the muntins and make them look like squares, and it just looks really fake and cartoony. So I'm going to demonstrate how to make windows in a traditional way. You are more than welcome to follow along with this. If it's too intense, I totally understand if you want to just import some components and scale them to make them fit into the window openings. So long as your model has windows when it's all done, we are going to avoid this upper window area because I know that that's just going to be way too much to have to do kind of radial divisions in a muntin. So let's not worry about that. You will notice that I've added into the moldings file that you can download a window sash and doorstop set of moldings. And I've also created already the sash that we'll use and the muntin that we'll use. So go ahead and select those from that file, copy them, and bring them into this file. And let's work on one window at a time. If we look at our photo, you can see, let me pull up the photos here. You can see that the detail of the window is a little bit, let's before I keep talking, let's just pull up the photos. All right, let's find a shot where we can really see it. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a stop on the side, and then we've got two different windows that swing in, or two windows that swing in, and then a fixed on the top. So let's go ahead and detail that out. I'm using my tape from the edge of this plane to basically bring a line right into the center. I'm gonna give myself a little stop. Let's just do 1 inch. Make a rectangle from this point down to this point. Go ahead and make that a group and just pull that back. Okay, so I have a little stop there. Copy that to the other side. And now I'm focusing on one window, and I'm going to repeat this window. So if I start from this center point and click to that point, that's the shape of my window. Go ahead and make that into a group. Now I'm going to take my sash, rotate it around into place, because what's going to happen, this is the profile. This is the edge here that hits the wall or the other window, and this is the piece that holds the glass in place and what you see from the inside. So let me go ahead and copy this up into place. I'm just going to copy it because I want to be able to reference it again, and then click to that point there. So this is going to represent my actual sash. I can move my path out of the way. I'm moving it just along the red axis. Notice I'm keeping everything in line. And then I'm going to explode that. And then delete the face I don't need. Now I can select this and explode it. Double click on my path, activate follow me, and click once on that face. You see that it starts to create that, it actually creates that path, but it's also giving me a ton of lines here that I don't want to see. So I'm going to triple click on it, and this is the first time we're going to do soften smooth edges. So you've got the entire thing selected, and you start to toggle with soften smooth edges. And if you bring it all the way down, what it does is it gives you every single plane. But if you start to smooth it up a little bit, it'll actually soften that stuff. If you take it all the way up, it's going to soften it way too much, and it's going to look like a marshmallow. So bring it down to just about where once you lose those lines there, then I can go ahead and close that. And then I can make this into a group. Now I can move this back into place so that it's along that, so it lines up with that the edge of that stop there. Click. Now I don't need this path anymore. Delete. So we're kind of done with follow me for a second. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take this muntin and move it into place. Right along, and I'm just going to line it up that back midpoint with the midpoint of the back of this. And then I'm going to rotate it like that. Now I'm going to move the face of this so that it's touching that point. And it looks like the back of it's a little bit too big. Whoops, I just deleted it. So let me just open this up and select the back and move it in a little bit so that it's not sticking out beyond the back of that window. Now I can open this up, pull it up into place until I touch. Let me zoom way back. Okay, and then zoom back in. Notice I've got push-pull still engaged. So I can touch that top point that's referencing the underside of that sash. Now I can close that. Now I want to copy this again. I want to rotate copy this time. So I'm rotate copying and rotating it 90 degrees. And I'm going to move it into place. And this is how I can find out how many, this is where I can get my even division. So I'm just moving it into place. Okay, and let's see. I want the back of this piece to line up with the bottom of this line of this sash right here where the window's going to catch. Again, this is really, really detailed, and if you're scratching your head right now, I totally understand. I don't expect you to follow along and do this if you don't want to, but I do want to demonstrate this in case anybody does want to be able to build more detailed things like windows like this. So I just pulled it in until it hit that inner point. Let me hit my X-ray just a little bit, just for a second, so you can really see what's going on. See, that sash is sitting on the inside at the bottom, and we're going to ultimately delete this one. I'm just using this because I'm going to create an even number of divisions as I go up. Okay, turn that off. Now I want to select the bottom of this stop piece from the side of this muntin, and I'm going to copy it up to that point. But before I do that, actually, let me go ahead and make this into a component. Right click, make component, because I'm going to be using these over and over again. So I copy this up, and I hit that top point. Now it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 panes of glass. So if I divide by 4, enter, it's going to give me an equidistant number of copies in between. I now no longer need this one, nor do I need this one. So those were just placeholders in order to give me a perfectly even spacing all the way back. Last step here is to take my first pane of glass and put it in place. And I'm not going to make these glass elements thick. I'm just going to make them flat planes for the sake of this model. So I select from interior point to exterior point like that, and I make this a group, and then I make it a component. And then I can copy to that point, and then select and copy them down. And I'll use this reference point here and copy it down to that point like that. Times 3. Great. So that's my first window. I can delete my guides. I can unhide everything. And then I can select this window, make it a group, and then right click and make it a component. Because whenever I change this window, I want it to change to both. So when I copy it over, now I've got 2 windows perfectly in place exactly where I want them to be. Whoops, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out. So that is how I would make the windows. If you want to bow out right now because you don't want to watch me do another one, I totally understand that. And I would say just go ahead and find a good window that fits, that's a component on here. I'm going to do this one more time just so it's obvious how to do it in case anyone wants to follow along. Okay, so I'm going to copy this into place, rotate it around. This time I don't have to worry about making 2 because I really only have 1 big window. And it looks like this window has a little bit of a frame around it. So before I even put that in place, I'm just going to make guides so that I can, with a rectangle, add a little frame back here. So I'm going to make this a group, open it up, and I'm going to make that frame the same thickness as the stop. So I'm going to open it up 1 inch, delete that piece, and then push pull it back until I hit the back of this cross member. Then I'm going to push this back 3/4 of an inch so that I've got a little space there. I want to go ahead and select that sash and just move it up so that it's in place. This wants to be rotated all the way around and moved over like that. And then I'll go ahead and bring it down so it's sitting on the face of that frame we just made. Now I'm going to make another path for this to follow. Double click on that path, and I'll just, or that whole shape, I'm just going to move it along the red, delete that face, then select this and explode it. Delete that path, select the path, and then F for follow me, let that follow the path. Now I can triple click on that whole thing, group it, open it up, and select the entire thing by triple clicking again, and I'm going to soften smooth those edges. I can just click back to that same point I already had. Now I don't need this path anymore, so I can delete the path. But what it looks like I've lost is my little Munson profile. So let me go ahead and grab that by going back to this file, copying it, and then pasting it in place. Let's rotate it around 180. And then move this up into place. First thing I'm going to focus on is aligning the vertical ones. So I'm going to start using this reference point, this interior reference point, because that's basically the same. This is the stop for the glass, and that's the same as this point here, which is also the stop for the glass. I can now adjust this back piece so that it doesn't stick out so far. And I can open this up, push pull it all the way up. Notice it's matching the same shape, and then hit that top point. And I can right click and make this into a component. Now using the other side as a reference, the other stop side, I can make a copy, bring it over to this edge until it matches up, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions. So I'm going to do divide by 4, and that's going to give me that rectangle, that shape. But I actually think we should probably divide by 5. I think that's going to look a little better. So I'm doing that same, I'm copying from that same point. Whoops, I grabbed it from the wrong point. So I'm going back to this point here, and I'm copying it over. Divide by 5. Okay, great. Now this one I'm just going to rotate and then edit so that it's the vertical one. Grab it from its midpoint in the back, touch the midpoint of the back side of this sash, and this is a component, so if I open it up and edit it, it's going to edit all of them. So I need to right click and make unique and push pull. Shoot, until I hit that point. Then delete. And I can confirm that this was a success by going from point to point and then just moving my glass back into place using that reference point right there. And again, this glass wants to be a component because every time I edit it, I want it to happen to all of them. And I can see that it was a success as I copy it because I've got the same exact spacing in between. So now I can do ×4 and copy all the way over. And then just select these and copy them up. Last but not least, I want to select this whole thing, this whole window. Move it back a little bit, then select that frame and make it a group. So this window and these windows down below are all components. So I can select them all together and group the entire thing together now. Right click and make the entire thing a component. And then using my center point as a reference, pop it into place over here. Oh, and it looks like I need to grab my stops. I didn't get those. So let's undo that. let's explode this. And let's just, using a wide select, making sure I don't have anything else behind, group that whole thing and then make it a component. And then copy to that point. Great. And then file, save. So off camera, I'm going to do the same thing to these windows over here. So you don't have to watch me do this kind of repetitive stuff over and over again, but this is a super accurate and very, very detailed way that you can make a window, a traditional window, from scratch.